Welcome back, guys. So this is the first video in the APC loadout series. So the context for this video is going to be the loadout and setup that I would use in a situation where I had to get back home from wherever I'm at. That could be simply across town, it could be out of town, it could be long ways away. Obviously each one of those is going to have a lot of variables that's going to change what I would initially take with me. This is just to kind of give you a rough idea of what I would use. Now your individual situation is going to dictate what you use, what you take with you, how you use it, etc. Just because I'm using it don't mean you should use it. Just because you use it don't mean I should use it. You got to set it up for you just like I've done for me. If you haven't already watched the intro video for this series, please stop the video now, go watch the intro video first, then come back to this one. This whole series is in a playlist. The intro video will be the very first one. There are a ton of variables involved in these scenarios. Variables that are too numerous to list, and variables that we can't even foresee ahead of time that are going to come up. That's why it's impossible to give a detailed setup and an absolute setup. I don't like dealing in absolutes. You got to be, like Bruce Lee said, you got to be like water. You got to flow with things. So the idea again is a get home scenario. Now, variables you got to take into consideration before you even leave. How far away are you going to be? What will be in between you, wherever you're at, and where you're trying to get back home to, as far as the terrain wise? What's the population like in that area between it? What's the weather like? And key of all keys, what's the event that actually causes you to have to get back home? So let's touch on that just briefly, because again, it's going to add context to what we're talking about, and I cannot stress enough how important context is in all of this. So if I'm out and about, something happens that forces me to have to walk home. Like, I can't call a cab, I can't call my wife, I can't call one of my sons, I can't call a friend, I can't call any of those people to come get me, and I can't drive myself. That's a bad situation, okay? That's really bad. That's probably one of the worst case scenarios you could think of. That's going to be something on the verge of a complete EMP type knockout, a solar flare that knocks things out, some other situation that causes everything to shut down and everybody to run out of gas and you can't get more gas or whatever. It's bad. It's really bad, okay? And if you're having to walk home, things are not normal. And I think one of the problems that too many people get focused on is they throw in all these normalcy biases, and they think about things in the context of everyday scenarios versus that kind of thing where you've actually got to use this stuff. So in that kind of situation, people are not going to be acting normal and rational. They're not going to be able to call the police to come help, because they either physically won't be able to call them, or the police ain't going to be able to physically come help even if they could call them. People are going to be panicking and freaking out, which means the normal things they would pay attention to, they're not going to be paying attention to. And things that they normally wouldn't pay attention to, they are going to pay attention to. People's mindsets are going to change. Things that they normally wouldn't do, they're going to do, and vice versa. Okay? So it's not going to be like you're just taking a stroll through the park on a nice, sunny, normal day. People are going to be different. Everything's going to be different. So this context is very, very important and key to planning this stuff and how you're going to do it. So with that all said, let's get into it a little bit. So typically how I'm dressed right now, we'll start with clothing. This is how I would typically go out on a normal day if I was going out around town to do something, traveling, whatever. Now, usually I'll have a pair of jeans on, but sometimes I might have these, just some plain solid color cargo pants of some kind. These particular one are my True Spec Pro Flex pants that I wear all the time because they're just stupid comfortable and very utilitarian, and that's what I look for. Otherwise, I'll typically have a pair of jeans on. But other than that, everything else up top is pretty much the same. If I'm wearing a pair of jeans, I will have a pair of these pants packed in my gear to change into. If it's bad enough that I've got to start walking and grab my gear and go, I'm taking the jeans off, I'm putting these on, and I'm ditching the jeans because I'm not going to try to go through this scenario and this situation in a pair of cotton jeans. Ain't going to happen. I'll have these on. Now, say what you want, but I've been wearing and dressing like this for many years, and I've went a lot of places, and it goes against popular opinion, but popular opinion is wrong. You're pretty low profile and subtle like this, and people typically don't pay attention to you. Now, I'll have all my typical stuff on me that I have on any given day if I go out. You know, flashlight, wallet, pocket knife, the usual. I will have my spare handgun magazines. I'll have a handgun. This is all the first set of gear I would have with me, right? Everything else that I'm going to show you, I would have in my truck, and the idea would be to get to my truck to get it and then proceed from there. So one of the first things that I would have with me is always this bag right here. This is just a little packable duffel bag, this little nylon bag. It's really soft, holds a lot of stuff though, and it actually collapses down and folds up into itself into a pocket about yay big. So it's really small. This is where I would have my extra set of pants that I would change into, and probably a couple other things like some spare socks, spare underwear, spare t-shirts, etc. I'm not going to get into a whole detailed list because, again, that's all you have to figure out for yourself what you want and what you need. I'm just going to touch on a couple of the key items that I would have with me. So this is where my clothes would be. Once I changed clothes and got this out, I would typically fold this bag up and stow it away. So two of the things I would have that's a key thing is I would always have an extra hat, and personally one of my 0241 tactical smock lights. Now this one's in Woodland. I've got one in ATAX IX. Whatever your favorite flavor is, even the 0241 pullover tops, either one of those is a great item to have, and I have one of these with me year round. Spring, summer, winter, fall, doesn't matter. A lot of reasons why. Another alternative to that, and this is, I think, is really a good idea, 0241 Tactical. Yes, I'm shamelessly plugging my friend's business. Their disruptive pullovers and smock lights that they have are freaking awesome to put in your get-home bag, especially if you're in an area where you're a little bit more concerned about people noticing you. Typically, if I've got to walk on foot, I'm staying hidden. I don't want to be seen. I want to be seen as little as possible, and if I am seen, I want to give enough of an appearance of, okay, I don't want to screw with that guy. I'm going to move on to an easier target kind of mindset to people. But their disruptive pattern ones are usually two-tone. You can get two different colors, and it actually does a really good job of breaking up your silhouette and kind of making you nondescript at a distance. It makes it hard for the human eye to actually pick up that you're a person, okay? I'm not really worried about standing out per se. Again, I'm going to be trying to stay hidden. I'm not diddy-bopping down the side of the road. If things are bad enough, I got to walk home. If you go walking down the sidewalk, down the side of the road, whatever, in front of God and everybody, that's a good way to get yourself in trouble because people aren't going to be thinking in their right minds if the situation's bad enough that I have to walk home. I'm also not worried about the police getting called, because if I have to walk home, it's going to be physically impossible for anybody to call the police, and even if they could call them, the police aren't going to be able to respond, because we're talking about a bad situation. Okay, that all said, so I've got my pullover or zip up top. Again, these are, and you can substitute other things. I use these because I like them. It's a single layer of material. It's not waterproof. There's no insulating value to it other than what a typical BDU top would be. It's loose and baggy though. That helps keep me cool and protected in the summertime. It helps keep me a little bit warmer and protected in the wintertime, and I can layer underneath it if I need to with other layers. Time of year is going to dictate what you do. Probably the only other real clothing item I would have, other than the aforementioned undergarment layers, would be a raincoat of some kind. And that would typically only be if I knew there was a chance of temperatures dropping down, getting cool at night. Pretty much any time in late spring, summer, early fall for my area, not even bothering with a rain layer, because getting rained on and getting cooled off will actually be a blessing. Trying to stay dry will be impossible, and you're only going to be miserable if you try. So, moving on. The next thing I'm going to have is a backpack. I'm typically going to have one of 2 or 3 backpacks. If I'm just around town, I'll typically have this Tactical Tailor modular operator pack. It's big enough I can put all the stuff in it that I need to walk from pretty much anywhere on the other side of town back home to where I'm at on the outskirts in about 2 days. So the biggest things I'm going to have in here is going to be food, water, shelter, and then personal necessities, etc. Not anything to set up a big camping trip with, because I'm going to be trying to move most of the time, staying nondescript out of the way. If I'm getting further away from home and it's going to take me more than just overnight to get to where I'm going, I got to step that up. And in that case, I would grab my little DG3 Crossfire pack. I can go a really long way in this if I have to, because it'll hold enough stuff to get me where I'm going. That's typically the 2 that I would use. Again, I would take my little duffel, fold it up, stuff it in there. Then I've got something else to put stuff in if I needed to pick up stuff along the way. So I'd use one of those 2 packs. If I'm going to be a really, really long way away from home, and this is an absolute nightmare of a scenario, but if I'm going to be a long way away from home, like the other end of the state, or God forbid out of state, then I would have my Crossfire DG16 big ruck with me. And man, that would be, if you haven't read the Angry American book series, the Going Home series that Angry American does, he's a buddy of mine. Go check out his books, help him out. The main character in that one, in the first book, has to do exactly that. The trek he has to do on foot to get home is probably one of the best, most realistic scenarios that I think I've ever read in a book. So much so that, man, it's hard to even call it fiction at this point. But go read that and it'll give you some really good ideas of what I'm talking about. So that would be an absolute nightmare scenario. I'm hoping that that's never the case. The only other thing I might have with me, because a lot of times when I'm out and about, I'll have this little sling bag with me in my truck, and it's got a few little things that I like to keep in it, because it's always something I can just grab and throw over my shoulder real quick and easy. A lot of times I'll have spare handgun in here. This will work with my backpacks, because I can still just kind of throw it over my shoulder and let it ride in front, and I can still have my backpack on, and we're good to go. Gives me that little bit of extra capability. So that's, I may or may not have it with me, just all depends on the situation. So that's kind of the clothing and the pack setup. Got to have a backpack. Got to have your stuff with you. For protection, I've got my everyday carry handgun that I have on me. Typically, if I'm out and about, especially if I'm going very far away from home, like outside the general county area, I will typically take one of two things with me. I'll either take my 9mm AR pistol or my 10.5-inch AR pistol. Both of those have their pros and cons, and depending on where I'm at, what the situation is, what's going on at any given time, will be which one I take with me. If I'm in more, let me rephrase that. If I know that wherever I'm going to be at, that between there and home, I've got more of an urban type situation, or not situation, urban landscape, urban setting, then I will typically probably take the 9mm. Simply because I'm not looking to get into a gunfight. I'm not looking to try to shoot through walls. I'm not trying to have all the penetration. I want something that's quick, fast, light, handy to allow me to defend myself and get out of trouble if trouble should come find me. That's it. That's what it's for. This particular one takes Glock magazines. I carry a Glock every day, so I can still feed this gun with my handgun mags in a worst case scenario if I should. This gun's pretty small. It will hide relatively easily. I can actually walk with a backpack on, and if you hold that close to you, from a distance, it's really hard to tell that you've even got a gun on you. Believe me. If I need to, this gun will actually fit in either one of my backpacks. If it's a situation where I don't necessarily want to have it out just yet, maybe because I'm around a lot of other people and it's right at the initial onset of something and the true panic hadn't set in yet, I can keep this in my backpack. I have a hard time showing it to you on video, but with my DG3, it'll actually go, when I take the magazine out, I can get it behind this pocket. I know it's hard to see on video, or I can put it in here and then use the compression straps and strap it on. It's not about having quick access to it, it's about just having it with me should I need it, okay? Quick access is going to be my handgun. Now, to support either one of those, I'm typically going to have a little small chest rig, like for my Glock mags, or something like this for my AR mags. I'd put all that together and use it as I needed to, as the situation dictated and warranted. Let me give you a hypothetical scenario, right? I'm on the outskirts of town, or I'm out of town, next county over, and mostly what's between me and home, let's say it's fairly rural or semi-suburban type terrain and area. I'm off. Worst case, EMP hits, fries everything, I gotta walk home. So first thing I do, I get my bag. If it's right at that initial onset, I'm gonna keep most of my stuff packed up and hidden, right? I'm gonna keep my gun probably in the pack. I won't necessarily have it out yet. It won't be until people start getting really flaky, which could be anywhere from 30 minutes into it or maybe a couple of hours. It just all depends on how long it takes people to realize, holy crap, something really, really bad just happened and it ain't going to get fixed quick. Because that's when the goblins and orcs start coming out, and that's when things start getting dangerous. That's also when people start getting desperate, and they will get desperate very fast, and desperate people do dangerous, desperate things. You have to always remember that. So at that point, I'm not walking down the side of the road anymore. I'm starting to kind of hug the tree line, stay hidden, take roundabout ways, etc. I can keep everything pretty much like I got, with the exception of I'll change my pants. Just for weight, I'll probably ditch the jeans because they're not going to be of use to me anymore. Look, we're grabbing the hat too. I can grab my smock light. Again, it's not about being cool, guys, as far as looking cool. It's about being able to function and operate safely. This is going to protect me from the sun. It's going to protect me from bugs. If you can keep the sun off of you, you'll stay a little bit cooler. So like the temperature it is right now, I'm probably going to start sweating pretty fast. So I would take a moment, get everything set up. And I'm just doing this real time on the camera. I'm not doing a 2-minute infomercial, so y'all can see how I would go about it. I'm also not going to edit this and try to shorten it up. You either want to sit through it and watch it or you don't, right? All depends on how important things are to you. All right, so things are bad enough now that I got to get all this out. I got to start doing what I got to do because I got to get back home to my family. At that point, again, you'll notice my chest rig here is just a little minimalist rig. I've only got 4 magazines on it. And that's because I'm not looking. I'm not looking to go kick indoors in Fallujah or anywhere else for that matter. I want ammo. I want just enough ammo to resupply my gun if I have to, keep it up and running so I can get out of trouble. Now, here's another thing I could do. I can wear this chest rig under this top and cover it up and conceal it. I can wear this chest rig under this shirt and cover it up and conceal it. It's a thing, right? So, I do that. I'll grab my ruck. I'll get it all loaded up. Get my straps adjusted. Alright, so we got the ruck on. Now typically, for this situation, I will take the hip belt pads off, or I'll just buckle them from behind and leave them buckled back there. That's the cool thing about the DG ruck. They're really easy to take on and off. I could actually take them off and store them in the pack if I didn't want to leave them at home, depending on if I needed them or not, right? But I do that. We get our pistol. Get it set. And now I could walk home like this, again, staying to the bushes, staying to the shadows, trying to stay out of sight, but giving a little bit of a porcupine appearance if somebody did see me. It doesn't mean I got to walk around the whole time like this. No, I'm trying to make time. So I'm walking and getting it. I can have this slung just like this, do my thing, and that's fine. I still got my handgun on me under here. It's concealed. Somebody did jump me, get the drop on me. I can drop this. I've still got my handgun on me. Hopefully I can get to it without them seeing it, noticing it. We won't get into all those details. But again, this is just an idea of what I would load up and run with in a get-home scenario, again, there's a couple of different options I can go with, a couple of different ways I can tailor this and change it around. Then I would have other things with me in the pack that would dictate what I did, how I used it, etc. Again, I don't want to try to get into a super detailed every little minutia that I would have packed up and be carrying and using, because that starts to, there's too many variables. Let's put it that way. There's no way that exactly what I would load up and use would be what you needed to load up and use. And I'm not going to put that out there into somebody else's head and you end up trying to copy what I'm doing and it not be right for you. You gotta figure that out on your own for your situation. So again, it's just an idea, guys, just so you can kind of see how I would run it as an armed, prepared citizen. You owe it to yourself to be ready for such things and be ready all the time. Unfortunately, it's the world we live in these days, right? It is what it is. So I'm trying to think if I left anything out. That's pretty much how I would roll. It's what I already actually typically do load up and carry. Maybe a few little differences here and there depending on time of year, situation, where I'm going, etc. But that's typically it, okay? So what else did I leave out? I mean, so I'm not even touching on the things of, everybody gets wound up, like for example, how your gun's set up, right? That's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. You can have a little iron-sighted AR. You could have a good example, a buddy of mine. So whereas I have my little 9mm AR, my buddy has a Kel-Tec Sub 2000. Same reason, because he carries a Glock every day, and it takes Glock mags. It allows cross compatibility for him with his ammo, and it's just get me out of trouble, get away from me gun. That's all I need it to do. That's all I want it to do. It doesn't have to be this, right? There's all kind of different options that you can go with. Even so far as, like, for example, it doesn't necessarily have to be mag compatible. As long as it's caliber compatible, then I can carry an extra box or two of ammo and reload magazines for whatever gun I'm carrying. Good examples will be something like the KP9 AK 9mm, the PSA AKV, the PSA ARV, any of the other number of AR, or not even AR, just pistol caliber guns. If you carry a 9mm pistol and you got a 9mm carbine pistol setup, you can keep feeding it. You can keep it simple like that. The optics, everything else on it is irrelevant for the point of this video, and something that you got to figure out on your own. I think that's it, guys. So this would be my loadout for the armed, prepared citizen in a get-home scenario. I hope it gives you some kind of idea. I hope it kind of stimulates your thought a little bit for your own situation and helps you figure out what you would set up and get in the practice of loading it up and carrying it with you all the time. Ideally, if it's where you can, everything that you load up and take with you, you want to put it all on and actually go walk 2, 3, 4, 5 miles with it if you can. Now, I know everybody's situation is different depending on where you're at and what your local situation is like. It might not be where you can actually do it. I know some people actually live in locations where if they walk down the street with a backpack on, somebody might call the police on them just because they got a backpack on. I'm sorry if you live in that kind of area. It sucks if you do. But if it's where you can, load your pack up, load your gear up, put it on, go walk, get some miles underneath it. Make sure it all works together, make sure it all rides together, make sure everything gels and meshes and isn't uncomfortable, and that you can do it. So I'm going to close it out on that one, guys. I think we've rambled on long enough. As always, take care, stay prepared, go get trained. You need suggestions, got a number of good folks that I know. My buddy Noel Bishop, Bishop 30 Solutions, NC Scout at Brush Beater Tactical, JC Dodge at Mason Dixon Tactical. Who else? Oh, I'm forgetting somebody. Oh, my buddy Gary at Trimus Dynamics. There's folks everywhere. John Hurth over in Louisiana. I got to put together a whole list of folks that I can recommend. So anyway, you guys go get trained. Keep getting ready. Make sure you've got your stuff with you. Get your gear sorted out now. Get ready. You should always ask yourself, are you ready if the clock stopped ticking tomorrow? So, take care, guys. Stay safe. See you in another one.